Hey, what is going on, guys? Max Settings here, and welcome back to another review. So in today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the Massdrop X Focal Elex. Now, these are a $700 headphone. They're dynamic, and they're made in France. It says right on there, Fabriqué en France, which means made in French for those of you who don't speak French out there. So let's get things started off here with some basic overview and specs. So these are a dynamic headphone. They use a 40mm driver. They have an impedance of 80 ohms, a sensitivity of 104 dB per milliwatt. They have a frequency response of 5 to 23,000 hertz, and they weigh 450 grams. So getting things started off here with the build. So the build on these almost feels really good. They're mostly metal. The grills here on these are metal. The little focal thing's metal. The forks are metal, and like this headband part right here is metal. This little thing right here, it says Focal, that's plastic, and the rings around the cups are plastic. But overall, they feel really well built for the most part. The top headband is like a faux leather, and some nice padding here, nice pads here. And yeah, overall they feel decently well built. The only like downside is like this like rattle that they have when you do like this, like shake the headband, like hang on, like that kind of sound. And that's probably like my only marks against the build. Like the cups are like this like spring loaded thing, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I think these feel really well built, especially for the money. I know some people don't think that, but personally I think the build on these is really nice. Oh, and then 3.5mm connectors at the bottom. Once again, pretty common connector. A lot of you should probably have some headphone that uses that. And then the cables, real quick, it comes with a 1/4-inch cable right there, and then it also comes with a balance cable, which is really nice. And I wish these cables were usable because they look really nice. They have like this nice fabric pattern on them, and these are all custom made connector housings for Focal. They have little Focal logos with little L and R's, little metal split. This one has a Nutrix, but the 1/4-inch one has a Focal logo on the 1/4-inch plug. But the problem with them is they're just too stiff. They don't straighten out. They're real janky. They like to loop up, which is a shame because I really like how they look, but terrible stock wire. So once again, not sponsored by them, but Periapt Cables, check them out in the description. Really like their stuff. Get one of these if you have an Elex. Okay, and then this is the box that the Elex comes in. It says Focal X Massdrop, and it says Elex right there on the front of the flap. And then it just pops open like so. And let's see if I can get it in frame here. And it just has, a nice insert for the headphones with a little information card right there. This is where the wires go in this hole right here. And the lid's held open with this like ribbon here, and has this like really cool foam here on the top that has a really fun texture. And yeah, really nice presentation box on these. Definitely fitting of their price. Definitely competes up there with the Ananda box from last week. And yeah, nice box. Good job once again with the box. Okay, so then the comfort. So these headphones are very comfortable, at least to me. The headband has really nice supple padding on the top, and the pads are really thick, really deep, and I really like the pads on these. Are real soft. Your ears don't hit in them at all. And yeah, I can wear these no problems for hours on end, which I can't say about every headphone that doesn't use a suspension strap system, especially one of this weight, 450 grams, which is a lot. The 6XXs here, those weigh 260. So these are not quite double, but like 70% heavier, something like that. But yeah, very comfortable on these. I can wear these no problems for a long amount of time, and I don't think too many of you should have problems with those unless you're really sensitive to weight. And then the power. So these headphones are not hard to drive, 80 ohms with a really high sensitivity. So you shouldn't have any problems powering these. However, they do seem to be amp picky, so you want to play around with some amps if you can. I ran these off my Army ADI2 DAC, which is really nice DAC amp combo. But I also have a shit Valhalla 2, which is an OTL tube, and I didn't like them off that, so I wouldn't recommend using them on an OTL tube amp. But yeah, play around with the amps if you can. They're pretty amp picky. They change a lot depending on the amp and the DAC. But yeah, but not hard to drive, so you shouldn't have any problems powering them. Okay, so getting things started off here with the sound. So a lot of people say that the Elex sounds like a Super HD 650, and that's because the general frequency response to these follows the HD 650 frequency response fairly close, with some differences in some key areas. Now, me personally, I don't really think that these sound much like an HD 650, and I'll explain why. So starting things off here with the low end. So these extend really well for a dynamic. Depending on whose graph you look at, the amount of extension will vary. The one that Massdrop gives shows it's pretty flat all the way down to 20 hertz, but I've seen some differences between pairs. I think there is a little bit of variance between the pairs and the Elex, because I've heard some different opinions on them. But anyway, so these extend really well for a dynamic. Your mileage may vary on how far, but yeah, these do have planar-like bass extension, which is really nice for a dynamic headphone. It's hard to find dynamics that extend really low. And then moving things up, so I don't think these have quite as much of a hump in the mid bass like the HD 650 does. Maybe a little less, more like a HD 600, but I don't think it's quite as flat as like an HD 580. So I don't think they're quite as overall warm as the 650 is. I think it's just generally a slightly more neutral bass response. And then moving on to the mids. So the mid range on these is not as shouty as it is on the 650s. It seems to dip out just a little bit, but it's not really it's not really recessed. It just just not quite that like elevated 650 mids, because the 650 or the 6XXs, they have that a little bit of that shout in the mid range. But the treble is where the Elex really varies from the 650. So these overall sound a lot brighter to me than the HD 650 does, where the HD 650 kind of has that rolled off highs thing, where they're kind of, I don't know if I would necessarily say dark, but kind of dark, like that warm, I guess a little bit dark thing. But these sound overall a little bit bright. Now, not like bright in a bad way where it's like, ooh, these are bright, they're gonna hurt me. No, just like the treble's a little bit elevated where they're bright, but not enough where I think it would bother anybody. But the main area where I think these really vary in the treble is like that above 10K air. They sound a lot brighter up there than a 650 does. And then the other area where they vary a lot from the 650 is the timbre. The timbre on these doesn't sound as natural to me as it does on the 650. This sounds a little bit more metallic in the timbre, which is not like overly metallic. Some headphones have really metallic timbre that's like, ooh. But yeah, these just sound a little bit more metallic in the timbre than the 650 does, because these are like the timbre kings. These are just so natural, really good timbre on the 650 and the 6XXs. And then the soundstage. So most people say that the Elex is not really that wide. This particular pair, I don't know if I have a unicorn pair or something, but mine sounds actually pretty wide. Most people say it's only like a little wider than the 650, but mine sounds pretty wide. So I don't know if I have a unicorn or something, but yeah, your mileage may vary on that. But overall, they definitely have enough soundstage, even if it was just like a little bit wider than a 650. That's still enough soundstage. You're not like, ooh, these are really narrow. And then they also have really good imaging, across, really nice. They also have like some up and down and front to back, which makes these pretty decent for gaming, actually, as long as you don't crank them too high. And the reason for that is because these headphones have a problem with clipping. So the driver on these is like a little miniature speaker driver. It's kind of interesting to look at. And it like moves really easy. Like you can blow on it and the driver moves. And if you take the pads off of one of these and play it, you can watch the driver move like a speaker. It's really weird. But yeah, so these have a problem with clipping at higher volume. So I've seen people measure them, and apparently at 104 dB, the drivers clip. And yeah, I have clipped them by pushing them like really loud in regular songs. However, there's been a couple tracks that have like excessively low sub bass, where these clip at well below 104 dB in my experience. Now, the one to try if you wanted to try to clip your Alexas, if you have one, try Hans Zimmer's 2049. It's the first track from the Blade Runner 2049 soundtrack. And that song has crazy low sub bass. And in my experience, that song, even at like a normal listening volume, will clip these. So that makes them a little iffy for EDM if you're one of those, because most people that listen to EDM, at least in my experience, like to blast it. So if you like to blast your EDM, these might not be the best thing for you, just because you can clip them, as particularly with that really low bass. But if you listen to a more normal volume, you shouldn't have a problem with clipping. Like I said, just 104 dB, which is crazy loud. Nobody should be listening to that loud, or crazy low sub bass. But yeah, so that's the main problem with the sound on these. And then detail-wise, these clearly out-resolve the 650 across the board. I don't think these have more detail than the Elex anywhere in the frequency range. And yeah, these have really good detail for the price. They still lose out to the Sendy Ivas in the treble detail, but the mids on these are not as weird or as gronked as they are on the Iva. The Iva has weird mids. It's not just the dip, it's just something funky going on with them. And yeah, these also have similar bass extension to the Iva, because I know a lot of people are going to ask for that comparison, because these are 700, the Iva is 600. And then the other one that people are going to want me to compare to is the 2 Classic, and once again, haven't heard that one at home, but that is such a wildly different signature than the Alex's. I mean, maybe if you don't know what you want, but anybody who has experience, you're going to know that dark Odyssey signature versus, something a little brighter. And I don't think you're going to cross shop those signatures personally. But yeah, anyway, in conclusion, Elex, really good. Recommended for $700. Really nice build, nice package with nice looking cables, not very nice functionally cables. Really good comfort. Really nice sound, good detail. Timbre's acceptable, a little metallic sounding. Really good imaging, crazy bass extension for a dynamic. So yeah, highly recommended. I don't think they are this super HD 650 that everybody hypes them up to be, but regardless, still really good headphones. Highly recommended for $700. Good job, Massdrop. Good job, Focal. I like some of your other headphones, Utopia. If anybody has Utopia and they want to send it to me, really appreciate that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Links to all my stuff in the description, the ears graph, Twitter, my contact email if you want to send me something. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.